Okay, so let's figure out how rotate works. So from my translate sketch, I just dumped a bunch of extra junk. So I still have my new mouse X, new mouse Y. I still have my void setup, with this translate in it, which is doing exactly all of frickin' nothing. Right? Because the draw method, the first time it runs, it says, yeah, we're going to forget the translations that have happened before. Okay, so I have a push matrix. So that's putting a new coordinate system on top of my old one so I can get the old one back if I need it for something. Like if I want to draw something in the background, it would be nice to have the old coordinate system back. Okay, and then I have a translate to width over 2, comma height over 2, and then I have my new mouse X and new mouse Y's. Okay, and then I have setting the fill to blue, and then I have a couple rectangles. One's at the origin, and it's 20 by 30, and the other one's at 50, 70, and it's kind of long and narrow. And then I have ellipses that are following my mouse around. Pretty good with this? And then I'm putting the original coordinate system back. The push matrix and pop matrix are not necessary in this. Why? Yeah, there's one translation, everything's after it, and it's getting erased every time it goes through the draw method. You guys see that? Otherwise, the draw method would do this translation every time it executed, right? Which would tend to push crap just in that direction all the time. So that's why the draw method erases, because the translate method is cumulative. Right? Like if you do a translate and then another translate, it just adds to the previous one. Right, so if you had it translating every time it went through the draw method, it just pushed stuff off the kind of down and left corner. Or down and... Which way is this one? Down and right. Okay, so if I run this, I get these two little squares, and this thing is following my mouse around. Great. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to turn the thing following my mouse around off for a second. Okay, so I've got my two rectangles. And I probably should draw those where they are and then rotate. So I'm going to do that same thing I did before where I just copy these three lines, right? My rectangles and my color. And I'm going to put those after a rotate. Rotate. And I'm going to change my fill to red. Okay, rotate wants a float. Okay, the float it wants is radians. And they're jacked up because the x coordinate, right, the x is this way, and the y is this way, which is backwards from what it is in math class. And so rotation, instead of going, it goes from x to y, right? So instead of going counterclockwise like it does in math class, it goes clockwise in this space. Which is super bizarre, but it does. So if I want to rotate by, if I want to rotate by 2 pi, actually, that's a good question. Do you guys all know what radians are? Oh. Okay, cool. So, radians are like degrees. They're a measure of angle, right? Degrees go from 0 to 360 to get you around once. Radians go from 0 to 2 pi to get you around once. So if I put like 5 in here, that'll be almost all the way around because 5 is almost 6.28 stuff. So if I want to go, and there's another command. If I want to rotate by degrees, you can just convert to degrees. Okay. So if you want to convert to degrees, or from degrees rather, the rotate command has to take radians, right? So I want to apply the radians function to a degree rotation. So let me say I want to rotate by, I don't know, 30 degrees. Another thing you could do, right, like the equivalent of this would be rotate by pi over 6. Oh, and in processing, pi has to be capitalized. The P and the I both have to be capitalized. And it'll turn green in the compiler. You guys all good with this? Okay, so that would be equivalent. Let me see what I get. Okay, and again, this isn't rotating the shapes, right? It's rotating the entire coordinate system. So now, in this guy, the x-axis is this way, and the y-axis is this way. Right? Which means if I try to turn my follower on,
yes.
It's like leading. You guys see that? It's leading my mouse by 30 degrees. Right? Because the new mouse X and the new mouse Y variables I made, they were based on the regular coordinate system translated to width over 2, comma height over 2. So you would need to figure out a way with trigonometry to lead this thing by 30 degrees and then redeclare new mouse X and new mouse Y. You could do that. It's not impossible. It's just a little trig problem that's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay? It really is not that bad. It's just annoying. If you're going to do that, I encourage you to spend a minute thinking about polar coordinates. You can get it out of that. It's there. It's just annoying. Cool? All right. So, I'm going to turn off my little follower because it's gotten a little confuzzling. Okay, but what I really wanted to do, like the thing I was trying to help with, was I was trying to help Story get a gun that follows the mouse around, right? And for that, what I wanted to do was redeclare the origin to be like down here someplace. And I wanted X to go right and Y to go up, right? Like in the way that would make frickin' sense.
Could you have like put in a negative Y, or is that like if you were doing this down really hard?
Yeah, I could like spend a bunch of time thinking about minus Y's, right? Like that would work.
Is that hard, or is that just annoying?
It's just annoying because everything most things have a minus sign on them, but the mouse X and the mouse Y are relative to the absolute position, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass, right? But there is an easy way to get the Y coordinate to point up, right? So I'm going to think about rotate. If I rotate by okay, so let me go back to my picture, and this is a little weird because I'm doing this on the computer. But if I rotate by 90 degrees, what do I expect to have happen? Which way is the X coordinate going to go? X is going to go down, Y is going to go to the left. That's dumb. So if I rotate by 180 degrees, let me try that. So 180 degrees, or I could rotate by pi radians, right? Okay, so X is going left now and Y is going up. Well, I wanted Y to go up, but the X is going the wrong damn way. So then I might try 270, which is still going to go the wrong damn way. What am I fighting here? Anybody know the physics thing I'm fighting? No. It feels like it. I'm fighting the right-hand rule. The right-hand rule says that when you wrap your fingers through the X and the Y axis, then the positive Z axis should point along your right thumb. It's fundamental to processing that the X and Y axis, the Z's point into the screen. But in math class, the Z's point out of the board. So they're just backwards. You're not going to be able to fix this with a flat rotation. So what you need to do is you need to get a little creative and go look up rotations. So if I go to the API, rotate processing, and then you go down in here a wee bit, you see that there's these other versions of rotate, right? And what I want is a flip, right? I want to flip the whole coordinate axis over the whole coordinate system over the y-axis or the x-axis or something. Like, I just need to be able to flip it over the x-axis is the one I want. So maybe if I think about rotate in x, it'll work. Whoa, what the F is this thing doing? So they're rotating by pi over 3, which is 60 degrees, right? A rectangle, and they're getting this funky thing. Because it's rotating in 3 dimensions around the x-axis. You guys see that? I don't really need fully 3-dimensional rotation. I just want to flip it over, right? So I don't need to rotate by 60 degrees. I want to rotate by 180 degrees around the x-axis. That'll get the y-axis pointed up. You guys see that? So I might go try that. Like, let's go try it. It'll be fun. So I don't want to rotate. I want to rotate the x by 180 degrees turned into radians, right? Which I'm just going to replace with a pi. So I want to rotate in the x by pi, right? It's not hollering about this at all. If I hit go, it only draws the red ones. The blue ones are gonzies. Oh, wait. Where are the blue ones? The blue ones are the ones that should have just showed up, right? Yeah, there's an error code. The red ones are sitting on top of the blue ones. Because this command, my rotate x command, didn't execute. Because it says it can only be used with a renderer that supports 3D. Where was that in their little bit of code? Anybody see it in there?
I believe you added to size here.
Yeah. Put it in the size command. So that lets you do 3D stuff. So if you throw that in here, P3D is an option for the size command, and what that does is say, you're going to draw this window to this size using this method of processing information. And when I hit go, it feels like nothing's happening. This is the price you pay for the 3-dimensional render. It takes a while to, like, get warmed up or something. I don't know exactly what's taking a while. But it does take a minute. It was not taking quite this long.
Yeah. When I was using it yesterday, it only took like 3 or 4 seconds.
Probably I'm bogging this computer down with the screencast app as well. But it really should have just worked. Did it go somewhere? No. Just keep pushing the button until it works. Why is it taking eternity? Hooray! It finally worked! What did that take? 5 minutes? Okay, so given the pathetic amount of RAM that's apparently in this laptop, we've got a couple of minutes to wait for this. It should be noted that we could actually get the mouse to follow around, and it won't do lag time after it's started the window. Like after your sketch is actually run, the individual frames still run at the same speed. So it's really just the compile that takes forever if you use P3D to render. Cool? I'm going to pause the video and actually, what the hell? Let's make some changes in here. So if I want to get the mouse following to work again, if I do ellipse with my new mouse X and new mouse Y, new mouse x, new mouse y. Right, so I've got my ellipse being drawn at these guys. It should be noted, what did I just do to the coordinate system? Yeah, I flipped the y's, right? So it turns out that it's a good idea here to also flip the y's. So instead of subtracting height over 2 from mouse x, from mouse y, subtract mouse y from height over 2. And this will fix that coordinate system problem. But obviously I need to uncomment these lines so that it'll work. And I'm going to pause the video and then compile. Huzzah! It finally compiled! Yeah, it only took like 3 minutes or something. And so now I have my little red dots following my mouse around. And so from this we could fiddle around a little bit and get it to draw a line maybe from the origin to the new mouse x, new mouse y. And then we might scale it by the distance or something. And then maybe multiply by whatever length we actually wanted it to be. You guys want to see that? We could do that. Okay, let's do that. It won't take too long. So, I want to make a line from 0, 0, which is now the origin, right? Which is kind of the middle of my picture now, to new mouse x, comma, new mouse y. Okay, but now it's going to be the full distance, right? So my line's going to follow the mouse around and actually go to where the mouse is. I just want it to point at the mouse, right? So to get it to point just at the mouse, but not actually go all the way to the mouse, you take the point that you're going to and divide by the distance between 0, 0 and your new mouse x, new mouse y. So this is going to divide by the distance between the origin and the point you're pointing at, right? Thank you. And that needed to be divided by, and my mouse still needs a capital M. Okay, so I took each of the coordinates of the point I was pointing at and divided by the distance from 0 to that. But when you take a line and divide by its length, what are you going to get? 1, right? So this thing's only going to be 1 long. I don't really want a gun that's only 1 pixel long. I want it to be, 20 or 30 pixels long, right? So I'd scale this up by 20 times this, and oops, not right there though. That's in a distance. How about out here? So I want to do 20 times the new mouse x divided by the distance, and 20 times the new mouse y divided by the distance. And then I still need a semicolon. And then let's get rid of the tracking ellipses for good measure. That's a good point. Yeah, and I probably want to reset the background every time I loop through draw, because otherwise what? Yeah, otherwise it's just going to make a mess, and that little gun's just going to appear everywhere, right? Like, the ghosts of everywhere it has been will appear still. Okay, so, pausing for compile. And here it is! What? Come on! Where are you? JK? JK no worky? JK no worky. Damn it. Can you go back through that story? So, why isn't it worky? Why no worky? What's it, like, what did I do?
What are you dividing by?
What are you dividing by? What an excellent question. You didn't divide by 0, did you, you idiot? Yes, I'm an idiot and I did. Because remember, right, when the mouse starts out, it's at 0, 0. And so before you put the mouse in the window, it divides by 0 here, because the distance between 0, 0 and 0, 0 is 0. So we need to protect from that somehow. So we need to, like, if what? Yeah, I need new mouse x is not equal to 0 or new mouse y. Oops, is not equal to 0. Stop typing badly. Okay, so when's that thing gonna execute? I think that's gonna. So I'm wondering, when is it true that mouse x isn't 0 or mouse y isn't 0? When's the only time both of those things are true? Yeah. You guys see that? So this should execute. So if the mouse x isn't 0, it'll execute. Or if the mouse y isn't 0, it'll execute. So as long as one of them isn't 0, this will work. See that? So I'm dividing by the distance between 0, 0 and the mouse x, mouse y. So the only time that distance is 0 is if they're both 0. You guys with me on that? Okay, so let's try it now. And Pope Springs Newly! The hell?
Crushed thoroughly.
And was thoroughly crushed. Damn it. Okay, yet again, we still don't have this working. So in my debugging mode, I'm like, well, I don't know whether it's the thing or the math or what the heck I've broken here. So I'm going to dumb this back a step, right? And that's a good that's the debugging process. Just figure out which thing's not working. So I took my if statement and my line and commented all that out, and I'm just going to try drawing a line from 0, 0 to the new mouse x, new mouse y. That should hopefully work. It doesn't have any division in it. So if this doesn't work, I know it's a compiler thing and not a division by 0 thing, right? Okay, punchline of my gun code issue. I don't know why, but processing has stopped compiling anything. I went back to code that was previously running, and it's not running any longer, so I think I need a restart of this machine. And thus my video is going to stop here.
I was having this problem actually a few days ago. If you go into the task manager
And just murder Java.
Yeah.
So this is a good thought, actually. Let's see. Let's go in here, and we'll just murder Java. Okay. Java done is murdered.
And then you should be able to do at least a basic one.
And now let's try a basic one.